everybody, how's it going? I'm the Meister and welcome back to Timbukton in episode 53 of the series. In today's episode, we will be building the airport's fire station / maintenance depot / fueling station. So honestly, it's not going to be a very big project. This video is going to be quite short in comparison to many other episodes, but it doesn't mean that this little project here is not important. Fire safety is obviously one of the most important aspects of an airport. Every larger international airport should have a decent fire station ready to go at any moment. So Timbukton's airport will have that same infrastructure in place. So this little part of the terminal here, it'll be the fire station and the maintenance depot. That's sort of this big hangar that I just plopped down here. But it will also be the refueling station for all of the little baggage handling trucks, even for the refueling trucks to be refueled to refuel the planes. So as you can see, this little tiny terminal here is one of the most important cogs in the machine. And I mean, another excuse to make this fire station is I was kind of tired of nearby buildings burning down constantly because I didn't have a fire station in place before. It's a perfect opportunity to kill two birds with one stone, I suppose. So yeah, the fire station will be functional. Obviously, the refueling station and the maintenance depot will just be for looks. But yeah. And also what's awesome about this episode, guys, and I'm so happy to announce that what you will see at the end of this episode is pretty much the entire airport in its complete state. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, we still have like a bunch of props and minor detailing to do and taxiway and runway markings and things like that. But as far as like infrastructure and buildings and taxiways and whatever, everything will be built, even as far as like the fence around the airport. So with the exception for like props and lines and stuff, that's what we'll be doing next episode. But everything other than that will be completely done by the end of this episode, and I'll give you guys a nice overview of the entire airport. Just a little teaser until I can show off everything in its absolute complete state. So stay tuned for that. And also, what you guys should be excited about, well, I mean, I'm pretty excited about, is we have our second patron on board, who goes by the name of John S. Sandler, and we'll be featuring his home and his little business. Well, it's not very little, but we'll be showcasing his work location at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. And thank you, John S. Sandler, for becoming a patron. So remember in the last episode, guys, I said that one of the roads that I placed down in the cargo area was the only outside connection to the airport, as far as like these little airport roads where the baggage handling carts would go. So this is the official second and the other only connection to the outside world of the airport. So it's a pretty, well, it's not a big deal, but it's there, and we'll eventually have to go and to impose some vehicle restrictions on these roads, because these roads, they act as normal roads in the game. Like, there's no restrictions. There's nothing to tell the game only airport vehicles should be on these roads. So, I mean, you could literally, I think this is the same as a highway, but the vehicle speeds are much lower because there's no zoning squares on either side of these roads. Like, you can't place any buildings along them. So I think that's just how they're sort of programmed in the background. We'll have to limit the types of vehicles that can drive onto here, because as I was building this, there were a few stragglers that were coming into the airport that should not have been there, so it's kind of funny. So that's another part of the build we'll have to get into eventually. And you'll also see that this refueling station goes through a couple of phases. One, I didn't really know like how I was going to do this, and I was just sort of plopping down a whole bunch of stuff and hoping for the best. And honestly, that's how I do half my builds. But in this case, I wasn't really happy with the way that they were, that everything was looking. And not only that, is vehicles were spawning, like normal cars were spawning under these gas pumps here. I figured that's just how this building works. I think it's like it's as if I would plop like a random parking spot somewhere, and you know how there's just cars that will randomly appear on them. I think this parking or this gas station is kind of the same. So I end up completely scrapping this in just a second, so don't get too attached to it. And anyway, you'll see what I do. I make something that's 10 times cooler than what you see right now. One thing I found while building this smaller project here, and I'm not sure if you guys share the same thoughts about this, but when I'm building a smaller build such as this one right here, I find it a lot easier to dive into like the little nitty-gritty details of it all. So I'll just give you guys an example. So if I was working on like the huge airport terminal like I was a couple of episodes ago, I'll sometimes zoom out and I'll be like, oh, okay, I just worked on this for 3 hours and I'm like 1/5 of the way complete. And then I sort of lose motivation to finish it.
2319! We have a 2319!
And sometimes I just have to push myself through it, you know, and say, oh, I gotta finish this by next episode. And it doesn't really take away any of the fun, really, but it's a lot of work in some cases. It's much the opposite when dealing with these smaller projects, such as what I'm doing right now, where it doesn't really take long at all to plop down all the main infrastructure and stuff, and it just seems to develop a lot faster. So then I don't mind going into like the little details like you see me doing right now, plopping down some long grass and bushes. I don't normally go to this extent, and I might be kicking myself in the butt by doing this, because if I go to such great detail here, I pretty much have to follow that standard throughout the entire airport. I mean, it is what it is, right? I just want this to look as best as possible, so I'll just do whatever it takes to get there. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. For any of you guys who play the game extensively, let me know if you guys are like that. I just prefer working on small projects that, you know, you can just do from A to Z in a single day, perhaps, and just go crazy with props and decals and whatever. I don't know. I might just be weird. Let me know, guys. But yeah, as you guys can see right here, you notice those cars were spawning under the gas refueling station thing. So at that moment I was thinking, holy crap, like how do I fix this? So I started just browsing around my find it menu, just looking for anything that I could place down, and really I just stumbled upon this giant open warehouse right here. So there's no walls or anything, and I figured, you know what, it looks kind of industrial. I think it would look pretty cool to have a gas station under it, just a whole bunch of pumps. So I end up doing something like that, and I actually really like how it turned out. Like, this was completely out of the blue. Like, you know, I had no plans on creating anything like this, but it just turned out really neat, and I like it. So in the end, I end up just keeping it like this. And you know, with Timbukton's airport being a smaller international airport, everything doesn't need to be like huge and glamorous and wow. Like, Timbukton's not what you would call an extremely rich city. You know, like you can't compare Timbukton's airport to like Dubai. So there's no like amazing terminals. I don't know. I'm just thinking like Dubai's airport would probably have a much nicer refueling station. Like, it just seems like the kind of place that would invest millions of dollars into like the most unnoticeable parts of the airport. I don't know. I'm just rambling on now, but yeah. Oh yeah, and one thing, I only noticed this now, and you guys may have caught up on this at some point, but I didn't plop down a tower until this episode. So of course, it's probably the most important thing of an airport. But yeah, I just totally forgot about plopping down a tower until now. So I did a little bit of browsing for that one too. There's a whole bunch of towers on the workshop, and I downloaded like probably 10, 15 of them. I just found like the little tower that you guys see me plop down was just, I don't know, it just looked nice. and it was actually like super raisable, if that's a word. I could just like raise it and it wouldn't screw up the terrain around it. So it was just super simple. I just raised it as high as I thought looked nice and plopped it on to the main terminal. So yeah, we're pretty much approaching the end of this episode right now, guys. So yeah, it really wasn't the biggest of projects, but at least the airport is pretty much finished now. Like I said, next episode will be completely focused on detailing everything else. So like taxiway and runway markings. I'm also going to be getting into like all the runway lights and things, and I'm going to try to be as accurate as possible to real life. I'm not the most knowledgeable on all these little tiny details, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on those things. Maybe follow the FBS episode on how they set up their lights. So that might be pretty interesting. But anyways, that's it for this episode, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe for much more content on the way. And also stay tuned for a couple of minutes, guys. We'll get into some pretty awesome cinematics of what we built today. And at the very end, we'll feature John S. Sandler's house and work location. So thanks again, guys, if you become a Patreon. And you can also have a house and job location in Timbukton. So that's all I have to say. Until the next episode, guys, please take care.